rojo sudando.
Working on a film or TV set can be a lot. Between long hours and harsh conditions, it can be an exhausting and dangerous place to be. And even the most carefully staged stunt can end in disaster. This seems especially true of Netflix's Spanish crime series, Money Heist. So let's take a look at some of the times that the cast and crew were put in real danger. Since you've decided to hang out, let's get started. Shooting a show like Money Heist is more than blazing hot lights, freezing cold sound stages, and plentiful tripping hazards. It's also stunts, and lots of them. Plenty of movies and TV shows have a scene where a person tumbles on a rope or chain and stops just short of hitting the ground. But there's usually a lot of digital trickery involved. Not so on Money Heist. Remember that scene where the professor is wrapped in chains and takes a long tumble and narrowly avoids smacking into the concrete floor? Well, there's a lot that goes into executing a stunt like that, and it's still not necessarily safe. To overcome the risks of the stunt, Alvaro Morte had to be secured in such a way that his chains couldn't tighten or pinch him, while still appearing to unroll around him as he falls. And a specially cut guide rope had to be attached to his belt to stop him from getting too close to the floor. The final effect makes for a sudden stop, but thankfully not one that landed the actor with a face full of concrete. For our first accident, well, don't play with knives, kids. While shooting Money Heist's final season, there's a scene where Hovik Kuchkurian, playing Bogota, has a confrontation with the captured security chief, Cesar Gandia, played by Jose Manuel Poga. For the scene, Kuchkurian has a knife in one hand and has to press its blade against Poga's skin. The scene went off just fine, but there was one problem. The knife, which was supposed to be a prop, was actually real, and so was the blood that was coming out of Poga's shoulder. This prop mix-up thankfully only cost the actor a few stitches, and he was immediately able to return to work. But things certainly could have been a lot worse.
Parece que me voy antes que tú.
Since it seems like I'm fully channeling your mom now, here's another rule. Don't play or run by the pool. Shooting on or in the water is notoriously dangerous for film and TV crews. Long hours in pools can drain actors and offer a false sense of security, and shooting on the open water is even worse. Miles from land and largely exposed to the elements, water shoots aren't just perilous. They're hard to get help for when something does go wrong. So, of course, Money Heist had to get in on that action too, right? For one of the crew's dramatic escapes out into international waters, the production moved to a shooting location off the coast of Thailand. It was hot out there, with some actors reporting temperatures of 45 degrees centigrade. That's 113 degrees for our Fahrenheit using viewers. And because the crew had escaped wearing cold weather gear, well, in cold weather gear, they had to stay. Combine the heat and those clothes with the rolling seas that they were shooting on, and the actors weren't just throwing up and trying not to fall off the boat, they were at risk of overheating. Things were so bad, in fact, that actor Miguel Herron suffered a heat stroke, saying of the experience that it was hot as hell. And his co-star Esther Acebo admitted that the conditions had the cast and crew ready to quit then and there, saying, "We all just wanted to die." We're sure anyone who has ever been seasick would agree with her.
Fue durísimo ese día.
Since we're already hanging out by the pool, let's talk a little about that flooded vault scene where Denver actor Jaime Lorente has to dive through the set in scuba gear. To recreate the fact that the Bank of Spain's gold vault will allegedly really flood in the event of a robbery, the production had to build an entire set on location at Britain's famous Pinewood Elstree Studios and sink it into a pool. Diving is always tricky, and when you're shooting in a submerged, enclosed set like that, you're effectively cave diving. One of the most dangerous things that humans have ever decided to do for fun. Weighed down by heavy equipment and fully submerged, It can be easy for divers to become disoriented and panic in small, enclosed spaces like the set. Of course, shooting on a soundstage meant that there were plenty of safeguards in place. But being trapped down under the water like that is always dangerous and scary.
Wait for action before you go, okay?
But enough of this water stuff. Let's talk about something even more perilous. Fire. During the ammunition depot sequence, the crew of Money Heist stuck to their guns of doing as many effects practically as possible, and handed actor Enrique Arce, who played Arturo, a real flamethrower, described by the actor as a little heavy, very tiring, and very hot. Flamethrowers are serious business. Many of them can produce a flame that reaches 3,000 degrees. And spraying meters of raging fire around like that? Come on, you don't need us to tell you how dangerous that is. Here's another fiery fact that was probably way too tightly controlled to be truly dangerous to anyone. But it's way too cool not to include. The set for the Bank of Spain's Gold Museum and Banquet Hall was so intensely detailed that it took 50 craftsmen 180 days to construct. That's 6 months of work for a location. So, naturally, they also had to blow it up. You only see the actual set for about 1.5 minutes of screen time before it explodes in a glorious, single-take fireball, and frankly, we wouldn't have had it any other way. On a show like Money Heist, everyone gets blown up eventually. Pyrotechnics like flames, sparks, and controlled explosions are staples of action filmmaking. And so are the risks. According to series star Ursula Corbero, she was once crouched low against a column, waiting to return fire during a gunfight when she received instructions that she was clear to move. Unfortunately, those instructions came a little early, and a pyrotechnics effect went off next to her head. The actress was unhurt, but she said, "I start to smell like burnt chicken. It was my hair that was on fire." In fact, it wasn't my hair, it was the wig, which was even worse because that burns more. Before we go, let's cook up one more s'more by the fire. After making off with the Bank of Spain's gold, the heist crew renders the gold bars down into small, untraceable nuggets. To do this, the showrunners even committed to showing us real details, deciding to actually build a smelter on set and melt down the bars on camera. The bronze bars that the smelting crew melted were very real, and so was the temperature on set. The melting point of bronze is a sweltering 1,675 degrees. That's enough to make even the trained professionals the show used uncomfortable. And there you have it. La Casa de Papel has been a massive hit for Netflix, both here and abroad. And it's easy to see why. The unique shooting conditions and blockbuster stunts make for a show unlike any other. And we're just scratching the surface. Be sure to sound off with some of your favorite stunts and Money Heist moments in the comments.